So yeah. God, I feel like I've lost brain cells filming this. Oh, who cares? Don't know, I don't get it. And it is just awful. What? Whew. Hello. It's been a while. I do apologise. Despite that part 1 Doctor Who video going out a few weeks ago, that was in fact filmed back in June. I took a very long time editing it. I didn't really expect how long it was going to take. I had a very busy summer. But from here on out, I'm hoping to be consistently uploading. If you're new to the channel, please drop a subscribe. If Doctor Who isn't your thing, crazy you've clicked on this video. Cheers for the support. I've got a whole bunch of Stranger Things content coming out from the end of October. So if you're more into Stranger Things, stick around for that. Great suggestion from Eleanor. Anyway, this is part 2 of my overview, my rambling, talking, nonsense review of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who. And yet again, I'm doing it with my iPad, failed again, list of notes, a few more notes this time, and a cup of tea, yet again. Also, I have, if you can't tell, eagle eye viewers, I have relocated to Manchester since film part 1. I now live right by the trains, so I'm hoping that isn't going to be too loud. And the fire alarm does keep going off today, so that could be a bit of an issue. But anyway, here we go. And the reason that I do have just a few more notes today is this is a bit of a spoiler for where the end of the video is going to go. Unlike with video 1, where I rewatched season 1 in preparation for that, I haven't rewatched season 2. I'll get onto why towards the end. So this is more from my memory. I did kind of skip through as I made my notes to kind of talk about what I wanted to talk about. I already knew what I wanted to talk about. Anyway, into Doctor Who. And now we're going to start off with Joy to the World, the Christmas special in 2024. First of all, I'd just like to have a little nitpicky section that it comes under. I'm trying to do this the best way I can. I don't like how, like, under specials we get the Church on Ruby Road, and then under season 1 we get Joy to the World. Like, in my opinion, Church on Ruby Road is the start of season 1, and if you want people to really understand this run, you should put it at the start there, and then Joy to the World is the start of season 2. Or still have it at the end of season 1, but make sure you have Joy to the Church on Ruby Road. Anyway.
Get a life, get a grip.
And to be entirely honest with you, I remember going into the special, I was a lot less enthusiastic, I was a lot more deflated. It was just due to the end of season 1, I'd lost a bit of hope for the first time in the show since Russell had come back. Like, I think that's the first time I've ever really experienced having that major excitement and being really disappointed just because it was Russell T Davies. We knew what he could write, and it really didn't match our expectations. And I'm saying because it was a very collective, there were some very unsatisfying ends, as I touched into last episode. What am I talking about? Video. I was less excited for this one. I was still going to watch it on Christmas Day. I still forced all my family to sit down for it. But the only thing that kind of got me a bit excited was it was written by Stephen Moffat, which was quite exciting because we're getting 2 episodes from him this era, and he did a really good one in season 1. But yeah, Moffat's Christmas specials are kind of even more hit or miss than Russell T Davies were for me. Just because, I don't know, I feel like he has the best one with A Christmas Carol, hands down, but the rest I could really care less for. Whereas I feel like Russell, at least, like, they're really fun and silly, which I know I critiqued a lot last episode. But this one, just, it's a meh episode. I hope I'm saying this right, Nicola Coughlan, I think that's how you say her name, from Derry Girls, Bridgerton. Getting her in it, I was very excited for that. I was kind of like, okay, we're still getting some big names into these episodes. That's a very good sign of where we're headed. Great actress, wasted potential. Like, she joins the lists of, like, Olivia Colman, can't really think of others off the top of my head, but she joins that list of great actors that Doctor Who was wasted. And yeah, it's just a not much episode. It kind of just didn't really do much. It really half-assed the whole storyline of the Doctor being lonely. It's kind of hinted at with, like, the 2 cups of tea, doesn't have a chair, stuff like that. Like, it's really half delivered on, I feel. And I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. That it seems like you're trying to tell a story there, but you're just not committing to it. You don't really know what you want to do with it. Then further to that, we really get some glimpses of a darker side to 15, kind of for the first time, other than in Rogue. But again, it's kind of that character development, like he does have a darker side, and when he's kind of like manipulating Joy, I was about to say, what's her name? It's in the title. When he's manipulating Joy when she's under the control to release the briefcase to get her emotional, arguably immoral, but it's kind of an interesting concept. Be interesting if the episode really delved into that. And the era even doesn't really. Hey ho.
Spoilers.
For me, personally, the best part of the whole episode was the Doctor has to spend a year working at the hotel. Like the humour we get with that, like the plunger and the Dalek joke. Anita. Why wasn't Anita brought on full time as a companion? Like their relationship and dynamic was so great. It literally, if the Christmas special was just the Doctor working in a hotel, I'd be sat for that. Like, I think that would have been a way more interesting episode, just having like the fun of those dynamics. That would have been a way better episode. Even just have it set at the Christmas period in a hotel. That would be really fun and interesting. Instead we kind of get this like timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, all over the place story that just doesn't really do much for me. Then we get to the ending. I am really skipping forward here, again, because I just don't really feel like much happens throughout the middle. We skip forward to the end, where this is again coming from memory nearly a year ago, but am I correct in kind of the way in which I interpreted and watched it was the implication that when Joy accepts the starseed and goes up, then her mum sees that as she's dying and says Joy. Is the implication there that Joy not killed, am I allowed to be saying these words? I don't even know. That Joy encouraged her mum to pass on, per se. Is that what that was? Because that's how I took it the first time I watched it, and I did rewatch it in prep for season 2, way back when. But is that what happened? Because it feels a bit questionable. I mean, I don't want to say cool, but it's a cool little loop there that like her mum died, which then led her to go on to accept the starseed, to then bloom, to then kind of encourage her mum to die, to then cool little loop there. Don't know if I just interpreted that wrong. May have done. Have I really got anything else to say? Oh, I did kind of like the little, that's the star that the 3 wise men, kings, I can't remember, are following. I thought that was quite a cool little tie-in to make it a bit more festive. I think that's the thing, it kind of just doesn't really feel very Christmassy to me. Like for a Christmas special, like it didn't have that Christmas magic of any of the RTD1 ones or even the Moffat ones. That they all felt Christmassy at least. Loved the Tory shaming though that we got, and like that political messaging. I felt like that was definitely an original plotline kept in from Russell. I don't know, it just feels very much more Russell than Moffat. I could be wrong there. It was more on the nose, I think, which makes me think it's Russell, whereas if Moffat, I feel like it would be much more embedded. Because we haven't really had that in any media really yet, of just like how awful it was that they were partying and they were telling us to not see our loved ones, to stay inside. Meanwhile, they were breaking all the rules. Like, it should be explored more. It was such a horrible thing to come out of that in that entire situation, and it was explored really well. Nicola Coughlan, again I'm saying it right, did a great job of exploring it. And my last point, which I think sums up this Christmas special in its entirety, my entire family that were around for Christmas Day, so my mum, my dad, my brother and his fiancée at the time, now wife, that sounded like they might have separated, now wife, that's what I said at the time, they all slept throughout the entire episode from a food coma, which I don't think is a very good sign for Doctor Who on Christmas Day, which should be really fun and adventurous and action and keeping the whole family's attention. If the episode is sending people to sleep, not a good sign, especially when this is the chance to get on a new audience. That was Christmas Day 2024. We had season 2 to come, and going into this, I was excited. The trailer looked cool, but I had my reservations. I wasn't getting as excited as I was before because I just had like my heart ripped out from whatever the ending of season 1 was.
Terrible.
We just had Andor. I think Andor season 2 was kind of coming to its end whilst Doctor Who was starting. So I was really on the Varada Sefu hype train. I hope I'm saying that right. I thought She's great in that show. I cannot wait to see her in a more spotlight role, carrying a show with the Doctor. Looked really cool. And I still was convincing myself this is a 2-season plan. This is going to redeem the previous one because they were filmed back to back. Like, the story isn't over yet. We know Ruby's coming back. Anyway, so we jump off with episode 1, The Robot Revolution. And just like Space Babies, it falls into the similar Russell openers of being silly and fun. I think it is much better than Space Babies. It's not embarrassing me to show it to people. It's still not the best example of Doctor Who, I don't think. I still think it could be better. For instance, I didn't like how Belinda was reacting to being kidnapped by 2 robots and taken into a rocket. Like, her jokey reaction to that just doesn't feel genuine. It feels like I'm watching a children's show, whereas I feel like flip that to Smith and Jones when the people go to the moon in the hospital, they are screaming, they are panicking. It feels real, and that's what Doctor Who should do. It should feel real. Just did not like that at all. And then also just kind of the aesthetic of the episode. I get it's going for like that 50s comic aesthetic. I didn't like that. I think we should leave that in the 50s and now do something more modern because it looked dated, in my opinion. It looked like it was doing that but on a bigger budget. The word twist thing that they had going on that episode was very cool. It was a very cool idea that like the robots, because of like the way that they're programmed, couldn't process every 9th word or whatever. But it didn't really work for me because, again, I could be getting this muddled, but when it's revealed it's the Alan robot, not the AI robot or whatever, it didn't really add up because I couldn't really tell if he was actually saying help me and stuff. But then also, if he was saying help me, why was he still doing this? I don't know, it just was very unexplored with all of that stuff. Because surely if he's the robot in control, he could stop it all, if all the robots are serving him. But he did seem like an evil person, to be honest. Especially if they want us to celebrate him being reverted into a sperm, being celebrated, and then being hoovered up.
Excuse me?
Again, just did Alan want this or not? Because it's very unclear if he did want control and power over Belinda. But then the help me twist, I didn't get it. The Mrs. Flood cameo was very fun and exciting. I just think Anita Dobson brings such a charm and presence. Just she has such a good time on screen. So just that little, like, when she's like, "And you didn't see me," just great. Loved it. I love her as an actress. But then my only reservation with that when I saw it was like, we just did this. The last season, the reoccurring theme throughout was an old lady reappearing every episode. Are we just redoing that now, but with Mrs. Flood? Spoiler, we are. They're not able to return to the end of May 2025 because plot, which is when we know the season is coming to its finale, which I think is a really cool premise that we're kind of counting down. And I liked that we kind of had this overarching narrative throughout the series of each episode we're trying to get back, and we're going on these adventures to like kind of recalibrate the TARDIS. And I think what you'll see here is it starts off really good, there's a lot of stuff I like, and then towards the end it really drops off. And then we also then get the tease of the debris of like landmark, of like London taxis, the Eiffel Tower, I think. Imagine it's the Blackpool Tower, I doubt it. That wouldn't be very internationally recognised, was it? Anyway, we get that floating in space, so clearly the end of the world's happened or something, May 2025. I wonder how they're going to stop that, because that's never been done before. They obviously do stop it. But in terms of Belinda, because I think she is the highlight of this episode, other than that one issue I had with how she's reacting, she's got a really strong entrance, probably stronger than Ruby, I would say. Takes responsibility when she doesn't have to. Like, this isn't anything to do with her other than they want her. She's willing to sacrifice herself to save all these people. She jumps in where she can with being a nurse and helping out amongst the wounded, which I think is just such a good trait. Like, I really like Martha because she would always use her career and her skills throughout most of the series. That's one of my issues with Yaz, that we never really got to see that with Yaz, with her being a police officer. She never really showed like massive detective skills, or like there is one example in Rose when like she stands in front to kind of separate the fight when Ryan gets slapped. That was like the one time I really remember being like, that's some good character continuity of who they are from their career and like how that influences them as a person. So I really like that we get that straight away with Belinda here. And then we get towards the end, like she just gaslights him, and I absolutely love it because she really does just, what's the word I'm looking for here? He is really, we've just seen his companion for however long he's been on this planet, for like a year I'm guessing, get killed in front of him, and he's sad about that, but he's just straight onto Belinda, and she kind of toys with him and lets him think that he's won her over and charmed her, and then she brings up Sasha, I think her name was, and then his face kind of drops, and she calls him dangerous. She says like, you've tested my DNA without my permission. Like, having a companion stand up to the Doctor was exactly what I wanted Ruby to do last series. It was the one thing that their dynamic was missing, and we get that straight away, and I'm just instantly like, okay Belinda, I really like you. You're standing up to the Doctor, you're feisty, you just want to get home, you're using your skills, you're helping. I'm here for it. I was here for Belinda. It is a much better opener than Space Babies, 100%. I would rather watch this episode than I would never want to watch Space Babies again if I could. Then we move on to Lux. And the first note I have here is yes!
Oh, fuck off.
Yes in all caps, with an exclamation mark. This is what we need. Again, we've got a very similar opener to Series 1, which I will touch on in a minute. We have like this kind of fun opener, followed by a god, then moving into a darker episode. Mr. Ring-a-Ding as a villain, amazing. Alan Cumming is amazing. He's just such a good voice actor. The way that the Don't Make Me Laugh reveal, that actually got me. It was like, don't make, because that sounded like a, and that's from memory, that's not my notes, I just remember that. The Don't Make Me Laugh sounds like a catchphrase that like a character like that would have, and then when it's revealed it's for the giggle laugh, good. Yeah, just, and then also just having like the 2D hand-drawn animation visuals in the real world. It felt very like that Bugs Bunny crime murder thing. I can't remember what it was. I remember watching it as a kid and I was like, whoa, that's a cool film. Couldn't tell you what it's called, but that was really cool as well. So then the other thing that kind of led me on to this theory of like, are we in a bit of a time loop or something here? Which is my own theory I had across this series, is because we get the exact same sort of camera pan transition costume change as in The Devil's Cord, but this time now for Lux, between Belinda and the Doctor. And I was kind of like, it's very weird they've done the exact same thing twice. Like, normally that indicates a loop or something to me. They didn't, meant nothing. It was just them reusing the same trick. Fair enough, it looks cool. I thought it could have been something bigger. It had some really nice side character moments as well, which I think really defines an episode. More on that in the next one. The mum waiting for her child at that diner, it's just a really sweet RTD thing of like, she's not giving up hope, she knows there's a chance, and but that whole, the Doctor saying that the police box brings hope, it's just so Doctor Who. It's such a lovely message, like that little, it's the same as when Billy Piper's Bad Wolf, ironic for what's to come, when Billy Piper's Bad Wolf in The Day of the Doctor says, I always think that noise brings hope, and it kind of does. And I think that's really sweet, and I think it's a really nice idea there that one of the reasons Doctor travels, like, he can bring hope to people. And then more on to over the sort of the villain side, the theatre guy and his wife, his like dead wife, but he can dance with the footage of her being brought to life by Lux. It's such an understandable motive. Like, it's such a like that going through loss and being given that chance. It's such a valid and understandable motive for someone to be helping Lux. Then we get into the more cool but divisive parts of the episode. So when they get put into animation, I really like that. I thought that was really cool and fun. Very Scooby-Doo style animation. Then the breaking the fourth wall stuff where they're like putting the frames, really cool again. Then that we're actually in a fake reality twist. That we're actually in a fake reality when the police rock up, because the Doc's like, that's the wrong uniform. Love like the nitpicky thing that like there would be someone. I think it was with I think was it the Oasis film? I don't know. Someone like pointed out on Twitter, like, that's the wrong guitar because they wouldn't have had that guitar in that year. Maybe it's to do with Beatles. And I was like, oh, there's always people that notice that sort of stuff. And I think it was really cool that the Doctor pointed that out, and it was like, it was an intentional mistake before. Like, I bet somebody was ready to type that tweet, and the Doctor beat them to it, and it was all part of the twist. So for the first time, we have a Doctor and companion where neither are white. I believe this is the first time it's ever happened. Did I just go like Somerset then? First time it's ever happened.
Wow.
This is the first time that we kind of explore what the implications of that. And then obviously as time travellers, they kind of get like a sneaky free pass at the diner, even though they're not supposed to be, and that is addressed. But then we kind of get like the police bringing that up in this episode, in the fake reality. And it's just like kind of, don't want to say nice because it's not nice, but it's like an interesting angle for the first time, and it's good they're actually using the settings of the episode to explore these things. So then they break the fourth wall and they climb through the TV and enter a Whovian's room as they're watching the episode. And I think this is such a cool idea and it's such a cool concept, but it really hinders the episode's pace. On the first watch, it's really fun, but because it basically amounts to nothing other than just some fan service stuff, it really slows it down. And then on a rewatch, it's kind of like, can we get past this? And this is one of the few episodes I have rewatched, just out of my own free will. And then the other thing that felt really odd here was Murray Gold reusing Smith era music. I get why, because it's like this fan service moment, but it just really, maybe it's just me who's too aware of the music, but it just took me so out of this era in this episode and took me back to Series 5, Series 6. And it's just a sort of this ongoing thing that I feel like Murray Gold, his return I thought was going to be really good, and he has done like the 15th Doctor theme, Ruby's theme, don't really know what Belinda's theme is, but I feel like he kind of just gave up towards the end of this era. And we sort of see that throughout this, it's a reoccurring theme throughout this series, that the music kind of just didn't hit. And we kind of have it here where he could have wrote this whole new piece, but instead he just reused one, which is a great piece, but just doesn't feel right to fans like me. Maybe that's just a real nerdy nitpick. And I did like how the way they defeat the villain is like giving him too much of what he wants, so him getting too much light and kind of then like floating away because he's just kind of been like overdosed on light, I guess. Great idea. Like, it makes sense within what we've established in the episode. Works. Yeah, this is by far top 3 episodes of this era. As I said, it's one that I've rewatched, but I do have my few nitpicks. But if I just have to nitpick, it's fine. Like, I'll accept hearing that music. I think that scene's really cool. And then we get it in the credits again, where like the credits start rolling, the camera pulls away and it pans to the room, they're still alive, and it's like, oh, they got to live. That's really sweet. So, The Well, I'd already seen the rumours on Twitter throughout the week in advance, so I wish I was surprised by where this episode went. I didn't want them to be true, because Midnight isn't my top 3 episodes of Doctor Who. Sadly, they were true. I was very scared as soon as it was confirmed that it was going to really ruin Midnight. Thankfully, it doesn't. If anything, I think it does build on it quite nicely, but we'll get to that. Also, spoilers for Season 2. It's been out for 6 months. Where have you been? Why are you watching this? Who knows? For the second time in a row, we get this transition of the costumes, which really did to make me kind of go down my own rabbit hole of, are we in a time loop or something? We're not. I should stop just bringing up my own expectations and theories, because they were all wrong. This is another nitpick, but it just didn't make sense to me that, I mean, I kind of like the idea that the TARDIS gives them a costume for where they're ending up, so it knew it was going to be onto that ship, so they put it into the uniforms. But then why was there space in the line format and space for them to jump off of the ship for the Doctor and Belinda? Why was there space for those two? There should have been 2 people left behind on the ship or something. There should have been... Didn't make sense that those 2 perfectly fit into that formation and got away with it until they hit the land. Didn't make sense to me. It also just would have been a really nice opportunity, and we're not going to get it now, because, spoilers, Shooty's gone.
Spoilers. For
the Doctor to be in the orange spacesuit. Every Doctor has done it, bar 9 of course, and I think it would have popped, you know, because we are like walking around Welsh quarries at night in blue, black spacesuits, so it would have been cool to have that pop of orange. Hey ho. They probably thought they were getting another season, they could do it then. As I said last episode, it was really nice having some side characters with some just like nice moments with them and some like depth to them. On the flip side here, we have way too large a cast, which can work. Look at Midnight, for example, but it doesn't work here. because we aren't given really much time with any of them outside of the captain, the younger lady, and the younger man. Don't know any of their names. But yeah, and most of this large cast is only here for a big death toll. Which again is cool, but I wish I kind of had some care for them, other than I hate the young guy, I like the young girl, really like the captain, but I couldn't tell you anything really about them other than like the captain was good at her job, the young girl just seemed sweet, and the young guy was just a prick. But on the flip side, Rose Ayling-Ellis, phenomenal. I think it's the first time I've ever seen her in anything. She does a great job. As soon as we enter that room and like she's sat there alone, I was very like, this is really creepy. She's so good at kind of making you care for her, and even though you don't trust her, she does such a convincing job that we need to help her. She's done nothing wrong, even though you know something's wrong, but we don't want it to be her because she's doing such a good job of convincing us she needs help. Like, she isn't responsible for this. And those like subtle jump scares we got with like the head popping around about, like the blink and you'll miss it. What like, and I like that they designed it just to be like a obscure thing, because like I don't think it should be paused. I think it should be just enjoyed for you briefly see it. But like the creepiest thing is when you don't know what you've seen. Leave it to the imagination, and that's what it does. It's like I'm trying to figure out what that shape was that I saw and what it could be, like where were the eyes, so creepy. This is my main complaint. I think the cinematography lacked. And I think that's an issue with this era. They have a lot of budget and it shows, but it's not lit or shot in the most aesthetically pleasing way. I think I've just started rewatching Strange Things, and maybe it's the cameras they're using, but that, like, the colour grading in season 1 particularly, it's so dark and creepy, and it doesn't feel like they're on sets. It feels like they're in real places, and it just like oozes the aesthetic and the feel of the whole show, like that horror creepy. And I think just this episode needed that. It's too brightly lit. It feels like we're on a set. It doesn't feel like a facility. Even on like the flip side with like season 2, the Satan Pit, that felt like a base. It didn't feel like a set, whereas this feels like a set. I wish aesthetically it had more of a horror feel to it than it does, where like they're all kind of walking around. It's like when you get to midnight, that's when you get killed, and I was like, that's kind of cool, but we didn't need the line explaining that. That's where it lets itself down. And then we got onto the twist that this is midnight, but like a million years later, whatever it is, which is really cool. It's a really cool twist, especially when we get like the flashes back to midnight and the reuse of that theme from midnight. But was this twist needed? Like, I like that we still don't really see the midnight entity, and we still don't see what it is and what that was. And that's also just us assuming it is the same creature, because it does speak to the Doctor, and I assume that the Doctor then knows what it is. Yeah, did we need it to be the same planet? No. Or did we need it to be confirmed that it's the same planet? Because I think it would have been so much stronger if the midnight entity, if we had them, no, what am I trying to say? It would have been so much stronger if we just had mentions that we are on a planet, it used to be covered in diamond, or it used to be whatever, and they've like scraped its surfaces. If we just had the mentions of all of that, that would have been so much better than telling us it's midnight. Do you know what I mean? Because then you're not ruining the legacy of midnight, but we're just exploring what this new planet is, and then the fans themselves can be like, is this midnight? Because then that makes it more creepy as well, in my opinion, the unknown of like, is this another entity or is this the same entity? We're not, that's at least how I would have done it. I have had a few nitpicks here, but I do just think it works so well as an episode. So my issue that I said earlier about Murray Gold and his music this series, so here we just get the midnight theme again, but with some added like horns, which is alright, but I would have rathered like an original piece of music for this episode. But maybe that, like, I don't know if I can critique him and say he's like not trying enough, but maybe he thought that was the best and that's what they wanted. But it's just kind of like, I wanted something more new and original. When he was coming back, I wanted new music. So we kind of have this whole interaction with the creature, the entity, whatever it is, and they manage to detach it through reflections because it's reflected onto itself. And I think that's a really cool idea again. I'm down with that. And we have them all making a break for the chamber to get out of the base without one of them being leached onto. And then we get that really cool detail that I didn't even notice. I'd see it on Twitter, that there's only 3 of them in the chamber, or 4 of them, but there's 5 life signatures, meaning it's on one of them. And then they get up into, and then by the end of the episode, we obviously have that then like final tease. They think they see something, and it's that kind of paranoid, like, are you just thinking you saw something, or did you actually? I think that's really cool, and it's kind of similar to how Blink ends that any statue could be a weeping angel. It's kind of that, just, that's going to traumatize some kids. That's going to scare some people, and I'm here for that. It's what Doctor Who should be. We should be making kids hide behind a sofa and not want to sleep at night. Hire me. Kind of the captain's sacrifice, that she thinks she has it, or she reclaims it, I can't remember which one, and then she runs to the well and sacrifices herself. I think that's I really liked her as a character. Very good performance. Very sad that she didn't survive, but like good. But then also that whole kind of, was it worth it? Did she need to sacrifice herself? Also, I don't know if I believe they're the same entity. I feel like it could have been 2 entities latched onto one person. Like, maybe she killed one of them, but the other one got... I like this open storytelling. I did really like this episode, if you can't tell. I feel like I did just bash it a bit. Let's have a few nitpicks. Comparing where we're at now to our last series, I'd say the church on Ruby Road was a better Christmas special, but then the Robot Revolution is a better opener. Lux is better than Devil's Cord, and The Well is better than Doom. So far, on the actual episodes of Season 2, going with BBC iPlayer, 1, 2, 3, 3 for 3 have been miles better than Season 1.
Lovely.
But anyway, Episode 4, Lucky Day. My girl, Ruby Sunday, is back, and I was so excited to see her again. I think this is a really good use of a Dr. Light episode. Again, last series they did it very creatively with both 73 Yards and Dot and Bubble. I think this is another great use of a Dr. Light episode. I do question whether we need Dr. Light episodes in an 8-episode series where it's telling 7 stories, but we are getting them, so we have no choice. But I think it's really interesting to kind of see for the first time, outside of, I guess, Sarah Jane and Joe Grant and Ace Tegan, minorly, because we barely got explorations of them really in the Power of the Doctor. But I think it's very interesting to actually get to see a previous companion adjusting to life at home, and how like their paranoia and fear of everything is going to be through the roof after what they've been through. So I think that's a really cool and interesting and unique take for an episode, and I enjoyed it. I do think Conrad and Ruby are really sweet, but the whole premise starts to just fall apart once you know it, where it's all headed. And I just don't understand how Think Tank have created this fake podcast brand, how he's got Ruby on there. She hasn't discovered that he's actually this like evil, right-wing, conspiracy theorist person with an online presence. Like, because when they reveal who they are, they've got a following. I don't understand how Unit didn't even like flag this to her. So that all kind of just falls apart a bit when you give it a bit of thought. But as it's unfolding, it's all very engaging, and I didn't trust him. I could kind of feel like I could sense where it was going. But yeah, it was a pretty cool idea, just like kind of falls apart. And then more on that, when we see Ruby still in conversation with Kate, so I don't understand how Unit didn't flag this to her. But then obviously they go to the village, then Conrad tells her that he never took the antidote, and that the creatures are here or something, and then that's when it kind of gets a bit creepy. It does a little bit, but then it's revealed that these creatures are just men in costumes, and I just then kind of ask, well, how did these people get perfect replicas to the costume that we saw being used by BBC and Badwell Studios to make this episode earlier this episode? Like, how is their costumes exactly that? They should be like awful costumes in my opinion, but they look exactly the same, because it's more to fool us than it is to fool the cat. Like, we need to be fooled into thinking this is real, so the twist works. But maybe I nitpick too much, I don't know. Am I the problem? And I do love like the far right conspiracy influencer side, as I've like touched on. That's very prominent in modern day world as well. Conrad sort of, then it really does start to fall apart, I think. Conrad then like going into UNIT through his undercover source somehow. I don't understand how that person got a job at UNIT with their links to Think Tank, but Conrad then getting inside, killing some people at like one of the most, even more secure, I'm guessing, than like MI5 and MI6, because this is like not international security, this is space security of like units, that what they're dealing with. So how this one man managed to get through and kill all these soldiers and get to the top floor, ridiculous. We get to see a dark side to Kate. We get to see the side when the Doctor's not around of how far she'll go to protect Earth, and I think that's such a cool and interesting take on her, because we've never seen that before. I again just wish this dark side got challenged, because it isn't really. They kind of all give looks of like, is she going too far? Because she unleashes the creature to attack Conrad, which I just think kind of lets down the episode a bit there. Then Conrad's thrown into prison, and we get such a cool confrontation with the Doctor when he kind of tells him off, I guess. I also just comes to mind, Conrad got hit as a child. And
Excuse me?
I don't really know what they're going for there. I don't know what the commentary or theme they were going for there was, that like victims fall down dark. I don't know. The Doctor scene was great. Shooty just showing up in another great outfit. Just all good stuff. And then Conrad just refusing to change his ways, as much as most right-wingers do. And it's pretty mean to the Doctor. The Doctor snaps his fingers and is just gone. That's such a cool... I don't know how he did that, but that was cool. And then we get Mrs. Flood rocking up with her keys. And obviously we're setting up the finale there. So I do like how Mrs. Flood's cameos are kind of setting things up more than the Susan Twist cameos. But it is still just the same. And now we're into the second half of the series. God, I'm really milking this out and I've got so much to say still. So, next up, the story in the engine. And I really have to confess that I'm going to try and do this one quickly because I don't remember it much. I haven't rewatched it, and I probably should because I do know it got a very good reception. But I know my issues won't be fixed on a rewatch. But I did watch this episode on one of the worst hangovers of my life after working 8 hours of work. So my entire experience with the episode wasn't great in the first place. But I'll try and talk about it as best as I can from memory. I did love the visuals of the window telling the stories when they're sat in the barber's chair, and then how that sort of then goes into the Doctor Who titles. If this era did fail, it did succeed in every right at taking creative risks and doing cool stuff like that, and that's what I'll take it for. But anyway, the main issue that I had with this episode was just the side characters. I thought they were really lacking in personality and depth, especially for a bottled episode where it's primarily taking place in this barbershop room. These characters need to carry it. Again, to bring up Midnight, where you spend that whole thing in that one room, those side characters make it so engaging and fun, and they're written so well, they're performed so well. These guys, I couldn't tell you their names, I couldn't tell you their traits. They're just there, and they don't do anything for me. And there's so many of them. I think there's 4. Do we need all 4? No, we do not. And I did think it was really cool that the barber kind of just lied about being a Pantheon. Like, we've come to expect Pantheon members all the time now because of this era, and the way he kind of just makes us think he is. And I'm like, oh, I believe he is. But from what I remember, he isn't. And I did think it was cool that he had tie-ins to the Fugitive Doctor, and then that whole flashback to the Fugitive Doctor suddenly appearing. That was really cool. Just, I want to see more of her. So seeing her there, that was great. And then this is, if you haven't noticed, I haven't really spoken about Belinda much. Probably me, but we've had 1 and 2 and 3 with her. She's barely in 4. She was still really good in 2, and still really good in 3. I'd say she's left on her own. She does some more nursing. She bandages up some people. She's good in that. She's consistently strong-willed and opinionated. This is when the issues of, I'm assuming behind-the-scenes issues, start to become prevalent. Because she's kind of sidelined for half this episode. Then the TARDIS goes into red mode. She goes out exploring where they are. And Poppy from Space Babies just walks past. And Belinda sees her. Belinda waves at her. And my note here is Belinda begins to die, because this is the start of the end of the Belinda we knew for this just shell of a character for the end of the season. Yeah, that Poppy scene just feels so out of place. It's never brought up. It doesn't make sense. It's not addressed if it's the same baby. They've used the same actress. It's not made sense. I think in the credits they're still credited as Poppy. It's never brought up to the Doctor, and it's obviously to establish this is the child that Belinda's going to gain in the Wish world, but we don't get that ever explained. It just feels very odd. What else did I like? Oh, when the Doctor's hair is braided into the root of the map of through the door when they need to go to get to the centre console. That was really cool. I loved that. So I just say, for a smaller episode that relies on dialogue and characters, the side characters really lacked, and this really dragged on for me, and it probably was because I just wanted my bed, but like, it just didn't hook me, and I wish it did, and maybe I'll give it another go and I'll eat these words up when I do a full-on in-depth episode deep dive of each episode. So the Interstellar Song Contest probably should have been my favourite episode of this series, because for those of you who don't know me, I am obsessed with Eurovision to an extreme point. So this episode, I remember watching it came out the morning of the Eurovision finale. Me and my uni friends were having a party for Eurovision. It feels very difficult to talk about because of the ongoing situation and everything. For those of you not in the know, Israel is part of Eurovision, and obviously Palestine is not, and there's a very conflicted situation going on there. I have my stance on it all. This is not the space to go into that at all. I urge everyone to go do research into it if you don't know what's going on, to kind of find out the full picture. I think the bottom line, though, that this should be agreed on by everyone, is that Israel should not be allowed to use the competition for its political means, as they have been, a la rigging the televotes, a la sending political songs. That shouldn't be allowed. But then there were some very interesting parallels to the actual competition in this episode, with Helia, is that how you say it, being an allegory for Palestine very clearly, that they were like used and their planet was destroyed and like abused, and they were kind of called out to be like a horrific race of violent people. There's very similar messaging there. It's very clear that that Russell was trying to make links there. At least that's how it felt to me. But I don't think they committed enough, and he didn't pick a side. Like, if you're going to make a story like that, you need to kind of have a stance and take a side. And I get it's the BBC, but by the end, the messaging felt so muddled. It just came off as insulting and wrong. It just didn't really make sense. It didn't really draw a line. And the whole, by the end, it's just that like, music's great and we should actually let everyone sing, is kind of the message that I got towards the end, and violence is bad. That feels like the whole message, but it's clearly rooting, by setting itself in this episode and exploring it the way it does and in the parallels that it does, having that be the end point of the episode just feels very just ill-informed and not thought through very well, considering it's an ongoing situation as well. It just feels wrong. It feels wrong. Then we get some Susan, classic Who Susan cameos. I hope we get to see her again. We don't. As if the messaging and the political allegories aside, as if they're not bad enough, put that aside, what it does to the Doctor's character towards the end and the character assassination of Belinda, it's just ridiculous. So the Doctor tortures Kid for his plan, which is just very out of character for the Doctor, and I think if you're going to go down that route, you need to address it, like with the Time Lord Victorious, like with Capaldi having a whole series of addressing whether he's a good or a bad man. You need to address this, and if only we had a companion who's previously pulled up the Doctor on their bad antics. So obviously, the Doctor's torturing Kid. Belinda comes in, tells, like, kind of is shocked. The Doctor stops, and they kind of just make up, and she never addresses it, she never brings it up. She doesn't question what a bad thing this is for him to be doing. It's just allowed to happen. And that's compare that to previous companions, with the Donna stopping the Doctor from just watching his massacre of the Rachnos in The Runaway Bride, or Amy pulling the gun on the Doctor for him wanting to throw Carla Jet to the cowboy robot guy. We get nothing from Belinda here. And if anything, Belinda is the most likely person to actually pull up the Doctor for this. And she doesn't. She does nothing. And I think that's so disappointing. And it's just further progression of Belinda just ceasing to be a character. So we get back to the TARDIS eventually. We know that the Earth is coming to its end. And then suddenly, the TARDIS doors blow in, and there's an explosion at the end of the episode. Just kind of out of nowhere. And I don't think that's ever explained what happened there. We just accept that's what happened. I'd love to know. Compare that to like series 4 and 3 going into their final 2 episodes. You know, that we have the end of Turn Left and they're running to the TARDIS because they know Bad Wolf's coming. And there's that urgency. Season 3, the end of Utopia going into those. We had that urgency. We do not have that here. It just... Yeah, we'll blow up the TARDIS, new world, go. I'm assuming that's to do with like the universe resetting for Wishworld, but it just isn't clear. And then we get a post-credit scene where, because Mrs. Flood is at the Interstellar Song Contest, I should have said, she was in the audience. She got sucked out in space, and they use this like cryo chamber pod to bring everyone back to life. And when they bring her back, she regenerates. Well, bi-generates, because the reveal is Mrs. Flood is a Time Lord. She's not just any Time Lord, she's the Rani.
She was. I don't know who she is. I never knew who she was. I've never seen her before.
And this twist just is dreadful for me. It fails in every fundamental point of a twist. Because compare that to Return of the Master, where we've established the Doctor as the last of the Time Lords, even though they have been saying that again here. The way it's done with the fob watch is so intense. The way that the Doctor's reacting to it kind of sells us this could be really bad. Mrs. Flood just walks out, splits into 2. The Rani's a bit harsh to Mrs. Flood.
Shut up.
And it being in a post-credit scene just feels like more of an afterthought of, oh, we need to set up the finale, rather than integrating it into the story. It's a poorer man's version of what they did in Series 3, and the most disappointing part is, it's done by the same person.
Oh, it's not like it was round here.
Reveal that Mrs. Flood is a Time Lord, which then just raises questions of how was she breaking the fourth wall? Why was Mrs. Flood living next to Ruby and Belinda? So that's the Interstellar Song Contest. It's just a real muddled political mess. And again, the only thing that I'm going to really speak about from that episode is go look into what's going on in the world. Don't listen to one person sitting in front of a camera and listen to their views on it. But like, indulge yourself into as much education around it as you can, because it's such a complicated matter, and this episode fails to comprehend that complexity, and it's just an absolute mess in its messaging, and just actually comes off a bit offensive, if anything. And yeah, as I said, this series has just really started to fall apart. It started off so strong, it started off so well. So here we go into Wishworld, and it was just such a stronger season prior to probably the Interstellar Song Contest. I'd say Soil the Engine is probably a really good episode, but because of the end of this season, I haven't rewatched this season, which I think you will understand. If you've seen the show, you'll understand when I speak about my reasons. So, Wishworld is kind of this false reality that they're now living in, of just a heteronormative ideology that Conrad is in charge of and is kind of pushing on everyone. It's very like 1984 of him giving messages and reading on TV. I love this sort of aesthetics of like 50s, 60s suits and technology and homes and everything. That's all really cool. It's a really cool premise. I do really like how Ruby comes back into the story here and how she's aware that something is off. It kind of links again back to her 73 yards experience. Her timeline changed and she has a link to this, so it kind of is understandable. It should be aware something's wrong in this world, and I like that. The Bone Temple, despise, looks awful.
What is this?
The set could have been so cool. It is a cool set, it's just blocked awfully for when they're filming in it. That whole scene of the Rani on their little scooter, you know those ones that used to like swivel your hips? You'd like swivel your hips and it would like scoot you along. It's like had like 3 wheels.
It's a whole new way to ride.
It looks like one of those, but she's just flying around serving for no reason. I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's so falling apart.
Get a grip.
This is so chaotic. Right, we're getting there. It's been like an hour. Jesus. Look, I will tell you actually, I do love those little ladies who have like their fingers plugged in to the table and like 4 or 5 and
Respectfully, shut the fuck up for a minute.
That was cool. No clue what's going on with them, but they were designed really nicely. There's just so many things that don't add up. Anyway, on to another negative. I don't know if I have any positives for this end of the series. At least I had things to praise about The Well and Lux and Lucky Day and Robot Revolution. Like, I had stuff to praise there. It's just falling apart. Rogue pops up for no reason from his dimension that's unescapable. That's just a green screen of red smoke. He pops up to tell the Doctor that mugs don't do that. And it is just awful.
My God. What's happening?
We are jumping so many hoops to get the plot going, to get the Doctor aware that he's not in the right world. Like, it just doesn't make... How's he sending this message? Does he have an iPhone there to film? Like, how's he sending this message? How's it getting into this wish world? How's he alive in this awful place that's... I just don't get it. I don't get it. The concept of slips is cool. Here we go, we have a positive. That whole, like, when people question or do something out of line with what's expected within this world, that's really cool. That, like, it causes, like, the mug... I hope this mug never falls through a table. I love this mug. For, like, a mug to, like, slip through, like, for the reality to sort of fall apart enough, like, things to phase through. And I think that's really cool. It's a really cool idea. I think maybe just more of that and less of just the Doctor receiving a message. So then the Doctor and Belinda get arrested. Oh yeah, so the Doctor and Belinda are a couple now. And they have a baby called Poppy, who is Poppy from Space Babies and that one random scene in The Story in the Engine. Which again makes me question, was this supposed to be Belinda or was this supposed to be Ruby and we just had to have Belinda encounter this child suddenly for this whole finale to make sense? More on that later. So they get arrested and they get taken to the Bone Temple and Rani just explains her whole plan to the Doctor. And I remember watching this episode because it was the morning of a festival I was doing in Bournemouth with my friends and I had it on TV and people coming in and out of the room. They were like, oh, like, what's this? Like, oh, it's Doctor Who. I was again embarrassed to have this on. I was having to audibly sigh and say like, oh, this isn't, like, to make people aware that I don't normally indulge in this poor quality TV. Oh God. So Riley says everything that she's got planned. She dances with the Doctor, and she has like a line of something like, this isn't exposition only, Lo. And it's just like, just by addressing that you're giving us an exposition dump doesn't take away the fact that it is an exposition dump. She's alright in the role. I don't even know who the actress' name. I don't think she's given much to work with. Still having Mrs. Flood around just feels unnecessary and a bit of a waste of why do we have the two of them. So the Rani is trying to collapse reality so that she can bring Omega back from the dark matter dimension or something. I don't know. And the episode doesn't really care for it in the next one because it's wrapped up in like 5 minutes. But yeah, the Rani's doing all of this to bring back to bring back Omega so that they can start a new race of Time Lords, because he's one of like the founding 3. Oh yeah, they also needed the Vindicator, which is what they've been using at every point throughout the series when they land to kind of gain readings. She needs that to unlock Razlon's seal or something. I think. Again, I haven't rewatched this. And then the episode ends with the Doctor falling into the abyss and calling out for Poppy and saying that he knows she's real and that that's his daughter. And that's the end.
Wow.
And it's such a weird episode because just not much happens. And on the other side, then Ruby then goes on to meet, what's her name? Scientific advisor, I can't remember her name. And basically in this reality, Conrad has just made anyone with a disability homeless, and like everyone ignores them. Awful man, like irredeemable villain. And I actually really preferred the Legend of Ruby Sunday for how it's just a really creepy, slow burn and exploration of that night in the past and what's about to happen. I think I can enjoy that more on a rewatch because like it's slowly building up to the reveal of what's going on that night. Like I think that does a much better job of setting up what's to come, even though both of these set up what's to come, and they both have disappointing conclusions to that. I think The Legend of Ruby Sunday is a much better episode. So now we move on to the reality war. Jeez, I don't know if I have this in me. I really don't. First of all, what war? It could be the war they're referring to when the unit tower turns into something from like Power Rangers and rotates and they go into fight with the bone creatures. Maybe. So the Doctor is saved, obviously. Obviously. And I like this because he's saved by Anita and it brings in joy to the world. She opens up a door. We get another big exposition dump in Unit HQ from the Rani about her plan, and I do actually think there's some really questionable things that she says that makes her a villain. Like she wants purity and everything, and it links to her older incarnations from what I know. I haven't seen it, but of her being like a scientist that's willing to go too far. I think that all links in quite nicely. This is when it becomes very obvious we have far too many characters. They've all just kind of stood there waiting their turn to speak. Why is Rose here? Not Rose Tyler. She'll show up later. Rose Temple. Why is Rose Temple here? Mel as well. Why is Mel here? Like, compare this to when Sarah Jane saw Davros again. That was horrifying for Sarah Jane. And the Daleks, that was like horrible for her. Trauma. Mel was just, the last time I thought the Rani, she was evil, whatever. Cool. It's crazy the same man wrote these. Like, I'm drawing comparisons as if like how far we've fallen because it's like the new people. No, this is the same person. So then we get Belinda stands up for Poppy. She's like, no, this is my daughter and this is real. And it just feels really, and they're trying to basically reset reality to how it should be, but keeping Poppy a part of this, the old reality, bringing her through. So they put her into this box. They literally put Belinda into a box and forget about her for the rest of the chunk until she's needed. Which again furthers the whole theory, was Belinda ever needed? Couldn't they just put Poppy in there and then Ruby would have carried on with this? So then the Doctor then flies to scoot a Segway up to the Bone Temple. Omega crawls out of the Seal of Rassilon. He's now a deformed creature. They've changed the design for some reason. And the Doctor... Well, first of all, Omega eats the Rani. Mrs. Flood off out of here. And then the Doctor uses the Vindicator to shoot Omega back through the seal, back to its reality. And that's that. That's the major plot dealt with, I guess. What was that? That's that.
That's that? That's what?
They wrap it up like that. Oh, God. Yeah, right. So yeah, Rani's eaten, Mrs. Flood runs away. What was the point? Did we need them both? Couldn't Mrs. Flood have just done it all and then ran away? Why was the Rani brought back for this? I just don't get it. Creates another complexity within bi-generation, because why Mrs. Flood is the older version, is like the 14th Doctor. If the Rani dies, surely it would be the Rani that regenerate next, as we see 15 regenerates. So does that mean 14 also has the potential to regenerate, or is just whoever lives the longest? Because Mrs. Flood outlived her other set. I don't know. I don't get it. Why did we do this change? Oh yeah, in the meantime, Ruby is on a mission to get the Wish Baby so she can wish everything back to normal. Ruby doing God's work. Until she goes on to say that Conrad's not entirely bad, and she thanks him for his world not being the worst world it could have been, is kind of what they're going for. It's like, well yeah, you did make some changes, but it's not as bad as it could have been. There is some good in you. And it's like, well, should we applaud someone for being bad but not being the worst person? Like, is that how it works? I don't think it is. He still made disabled people homeless. He still made gay people straight. You know, like, we shouldn't be applauding these decisions. And then, hilariously, Conrad gets probably the nicest exit out of them all, because he goes on to have like a wife and a family and a successful career in cooking.
No. So let's move on.
So then the Doctor, they all rush back to the box that, oh yeah, Susan Twist is in this. She's still working at UNIT. She's no longer making the teas. She made this box for them to put Belinda in with Poppy. They go back to the box. Yay! Poppy and Belinda come out. And my main issue here is we're supposed to really care for Poppy. We don't. We've met her once, but it's unconfirmed if this is the same Poppy. We don't know if the whole climax really of this season and story and Belinda's character comes down to us caring for them saving this child that Belinda so desperately now wants, but we're not given any time to really care for this child or to care for their dynamics because we barely see it. And then that's what it all comes down to. So it's just kind of, I don't care. You haven't given me a reason to care other than like we're told we care because Belinda cares. But yeah, so Poppy now is part of the original world. So then they go into the TARDIS and there's a crib there. They're talking about their next adventures and what they're going to do, right in front of Ruby. They don't even invite Ruby along. They just assume, I guess, that she doesn't want to come along. And they're talking about like, oh, what to do next, being all besties. And as they're doing this, they're kind of like folding up Poppy's coat, I think, and it's just getting smaller and smaller into a blanket. And this is probably the coolest and my most favourite part of this story, because we're seeing in front of us reality changing as Poppy's being slowly erased. And first of all, Ruby's way better than me, because if they were talking about these plans, I would be really insulted. Like, invite me along. But anyway, that'd be like strike one. Then, as Ruby realises what's going on with the jacket goes, and then Poppy goes, and then the cot goes. And then Ruby's trying to tell them there was a child called Poppy that you cared so much for, and she's gone. And then Belinda's like, I think I'd know. It's like, well, you wouldn't. Reality's changed. Listen to the girl who has an experience with reality's changing around her. And then the Doctor, and I've seen people say like, oh, was he just protecting Belinda? But he never has a moment after to apologise to Ruby. This is the last bit we get with Ruby as well. She's determined to let them know this has happened, and they're kind of just calling her crazy. And again, she's way better than me, because strike two, after what you've just spoken about in front of me, and now you're telling me I'm wrong, even though I'm like, you're not listening to me. In terms of everything that's just happened, this isn't the most crazy thing for me to be saying. We've just left a reality, an alternate reality. Like, this isn't crazy. And they're just slapping her with dismissals. Ridiculous.
Respectfully, shut the fuck up for a minute.
Yeah, just the way the Doctor treats Ruby here infuriates me. It's so out of character. But then also that whole case of maybe the Doctor was trying to protect Belinda's feelings because he knows Poppy's gone. He knew there was a way to bring back Poppy, because he does that. So he wouldn't need to spare Belinda's feelings. So why is he sparing Belinda's feelings by dismissing Ruby? Do you see, like, that doesn't add up. Also, further to the point, couldn't these two have just been the same person? Like, Ruby could have been, Poppy could have been Ruby's, and then Ruby could have been saying, no, we had a child, we need to fix, like, Belinda doesn't need to be here. Belinda is unnecessary. That is the last we see of Ruby. She doesn't get a goodbye, she doesn't get an exit. At least she goes out strong. She deserved far better. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. So yeah, so then the Doctor does some TARDIS shenanigans, and is like, I know how, I'm going to find a way to fix this. And then we get probably one of the best moments of this season. Jodie Whittaker shows up as the 13th Doctor.
Lovely.
And it's really nice getting a scene between these two, about that passing the baton kind of like, because we jumped with 14, like I would have rather we had 13 and 15, but 13 and 14 being 15.
Will you just shut up?
It's a really lovely scene, and it kind of fixed a lot of my issues with 13. It addresses her character flaws, about her being so shut off and not able to talk about her feelings. With that whole, I should tell people that I love them. Like, she's written in a different way. Like, it's the way Chibnall was trying to write her, but done properly. I loved that scene with her. It was great, and it's really boosted her Doctor up. Yes. So then the Doctor floods the TARDIS console with regeneration energy to reset reality, and he wakes up on the grass of Belinda's garden. And now in this timeline, now what's happened is the reason that Belinda wanted to get home wasn't for her shift the next day. She doesn't live in a flat share anymore. She now has a house, she has a child, and she had to get home to take care of her daughter. Fair enough. But this isn't the Belinda that we knew. Like, Belinda in this two-part has been saying she had a child because that was the reality she was forced into. I don't think it's a very good end to a character, especially a female character, to kind of be put in, when they're put into a patriarchal world and given a child that they never had before and never necessarily wanted, to then make the original world them their whole trait be about this child. Whereas before she was very career driven, she was very confident. Now it's just, yeah, I have a daughter, and that's all she really is. I don't know, like, we never saw previous her express an interest in family and all of that. So it just feels like we're kind of just keeping on to the patriarchal views of Conrad. And Belinda, would old Belinda have agreed to this, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think she would have. And I think it's just a really bad message to kind of be like, yep, her conclusion is she becomes a mum. Like, no, like, let her get back to her job there. I don't think that's a very good message to be like, yep, that's that done. We're done with Belinda now. Because, I don't know, I think it would have worked really well maybe for Ruby, who was abandoned as a child, to refuse to abandon, like, this is just coming to me now. But yeah, it makes so much more sense that Ruby would be fighting and determined and want to keep this child because she was abandoned as a child and she wouldn't want to abandon this child, and she'd be more than eager to have a family of her own, as we've seen. So again, maybe this was supposed to be Ruby and we never were supposed to get Belinda, because then we also see Belinda's mum for the first time here, and maybe that was supposed to be Cherry and Carla. I don't know. He goes off into the TARDIS, they say goodbye, time to regenerate, and I could kind of tell this is where it's headed. So the Doctor regenerates. He doesn't want to be alone, which I think is really sweet, so he goes out and then goes to the star where Joy is, and I think that's really sweet. The music's really lovely here. And then we get this horrible regeneration effect. It's probably the worst it's ever looked, I think. But the Doctor's kind of leaning at the most uncomfortable angle, which doesn't make sense gravity-wise, I don't think. I guess there's no gravity in space, but there must be a bubble around the... Oh, who cares?
Shut when you think about it.
Who cares? The Doctor regenerates. The TARDIS kind of shuts down as it's happening, which makes me wonder, is this a normal regeneration? I don't think so. I hope not, at least. And then you can tell through awful green screen that this was not supposed... This wasn't... They didn't know what to do next. 15 regenerates into Billie Piper.
Oh no, come on, this is getting silly. This is getting sillier. This is really silly. No, this is really, really, really stupid.
And to cap it off, Billie Piper says, oh, hello, down the camera lens. What, if anything, from these two seasons has taught me is that they don't really have... If they do have a plan, it's not good. If they don't have a plan, they're not good at making it up as they go along. For instance, Mrs. Flood, I don't think she was ever supposed to be the Rani, like when she broke the fourth wall in Church and Ruby Road. And Billie Piper, as the Doctor, breaking the fourth wall here doesn't fill me with any excitement or hope. It just fills me with dread of how they're going to explore this. What's coming next? Because we have no confirmation of a season 3, and I think that's the main reason that Ncuti wanted to get up and go, because he's a good actor. He is high in demand. He can go far. And the uncertainty, because Disney want to wait till the end of the year and to wait till the next spin-off comes out to kind of assess whether they want another series. I think Russell was so confident he had this 3-season plan, supposedly, and he thought after one season they'll get the green light. While season 2 is being released, they'll be filming and editing season 3 for season 3 to come out next year. That didn't happen. Ncuti then wanted to jump ship, so he had to make these last-minute changes and film his exit. Kind of as I've spoken more this video, the more it makes sense that clearly, because by the death of Belinda's character, and that the more logical reasons for it to have been Ruby, and there only needed to have been one companion in that finale, it was always supposed to be Ruby, I think, and it just doesn't make sense that it was Belinda. And I think clearly something changed there behind the scenes, and they had to kind of make do. And then we also got that image from like a German Disney Plus account of the next episode, which had the Doctor and Belinda dancing at a party, and we have all these rumours that Susan was going to rock up to this party at the end of season 2 and come collect Poppy and say, come on mum, and then they'd walk off. I would much rather that, but obviously Ncuti wanted to leave, so had to change the ending to be an exit. And that can work by some miracle, I guess, now in hindsight. Season 1 worked by doing that with like series 1 with Chris Eccleston, that they tweaked that story to be a regeneration story, and it worked for the better for it. This season just really falls apart, and it falls apart so badly, so much worse than season 1 did, that as I said, I've had no intention to rewatch this series as a whole or to give it another go, because it just pains me. And I remember watching this 2-part finale both weeks, and I was like, this is bad. Yeah, so yeah. God, I feel like I've lost brain cells filming this. Yeah, so I guess I'm now going to close out by talking about Ncuti Gatwa and his 15th Doctor. And I think it's such a shame, because he did have so much potential. He really could have shone in this role. But the writing just didn't... I mean, he had way more moments to shine than Jodie did. But I really feel like we were just getting going with him. Like, we had the glimpses of his darker side. He's the shortest lasting Doctor by far. And I just feel like I barely got to know his character. They didn't explore his villainous darker side at all. They never questioned it or explored it. And now he's gone. And it's just like, well, okay. So he really was kind of up there to have the chance to be in like the top 3. But he just doesn't. Is he lower than Jodie for me? Maybe. At least Jodie had a bit of an arc. Does 15 have an arc? No, he doesn't. That's all it is. And I think that's the saddest part. I think I went into this era so optimistic that my favourite show is going to be back on form, back on peak. And it just failed at so many hurdles. And I will appreciate it for the creative risks it's taken, for some of the great stories we've got. I just wish that the finales and the conclusions to its story were far better than they were, because now I'm left wondering what was the point. And now all we really have to look forward to is The War Between the Land and the Sea, which is a spin-off exploring the Sea Devils, and I'm guessing like the claim between who has right to the planet. And I'm weirdly optimistic for that, because the trailer looks really good. I'm not going to get too excited. It's coming out in January, I think, now. Yeah, it's coming out in January, I think, because they pushed it back a little bit, probably to fill the gap a bit more. But I'm hoping that's going to be more mature. It's going to be more catered for adults. Russell's going to shine in his serialised... I think he's producing it, he's not the main writer, but I'm hoping they're going to create something much more consistent, much more mature. And I think it has the potential to be a more mature story, you know, exploring claim to land, and because the Sea Devils technically have right to the planet more than we do. So it could be really good. It has a good cast as well. I don't feel like... God, I'm so good at living in denial. I don't feel like Russell Tovey would have signed on for this if it wasn't going to be good. Same with some of the other actors in it. I'm hoping it's going to be good. I want it to be good. I want some good Whoniverse content. But yeah, that was season 2. As I said, I'm not very excited to see what's going on with Billie Piper as the Doctor, as I don't even think she knows. On the one hand, she would be a great Doctor because she's such a good actress, but I have no faith in the creative team to do a satisfying or interesting story with what they've set up, and I don't have any faith that they'll figure out what to do with it based on the consistent, underwhelming deliveries of the series, of the 60th, the season 1 and the season 2. But yeah, that has been Joy to the World season 2, part 2 complete. Wow, didn't realise I had so much negative things to say. As I said, Strange Things content will be coming next, and that'll be fun because I will have good things to say. I don't have many negatives so far on my rewatch of it, so I'm excited to be able to praise something. And as I continue going forward, I'm just going to continue seeing what people are interested in seeing. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about with a cup of tea, more than happy to. The Strange Things content will be more organised than this chaotic, chatty stuff. But yes, as I said, please subscribe, please like the video. Thank you if you stuck through all of that. And yes, I'll see you on Halloween for Stranger Things 1 Explored. Woo!